Hello, council members. This is Amanda again. We have word from Mayor Serta. She's setting up her device, and she will be joining the meeting just shortly.
All right. Okay. Good.
We're good?
All right.
Okay. The volume on here? Can you guys hear me? I don't hear you.
Yes, Mayor Serta, we can hear you, and just as an FYI to all, we are live at this time.
Okay. Who are we missing? Clint? There we go.
Mayor.
We're all there?
Yeah.
Are we ready to start?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Something weird going on with volume. 1 second here. Never mind. I'll fix it during close. Okay. So we're ready to begin tonight's Gradient City Council meeting for Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll?
Mayor Serta.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Here.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Here.
Councilmember Kaskanian. Councilmember Kaskanian.
Here.
And Councilmember Francis.
Here.
Okay, before we go into closed session, Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody who wishes to speak on any item in closed session?
No, Mayor, we do not. Not on closed session.
Okay, at this time, we're going to adjourn into closed session and then try to reopen our meeting. Okay, so if everybody can exit off this call and go to our closed session meeting.
Okay.
All cell phones muted. You guys all set? Everybody
Yes.
ready? Okay. Okay. I think we're ready to go live. All right, good afternoon, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's City Council meeting for the City of Gardena for Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll? I think you're muted still.
Serta, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Here.
City Councilmember Tanaka,
Here.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Here.
Councilmember Francis,
Here.
and I believe I called you Mayor Serta.
Okay, before we move on to closed session, let me just make this quick announcement here. In order to minimize the spread of the COVID-19 virus, Governor Newsom has issued executive orders that temporarily extend requirements of the Brown Act. Please be advised that the council chambers are closed to the public and that some or all of the Gardena City Council members may be attending this meeting telephonically or by Zoom. If you would like to participate in the meeting, you can participate via the following options. Number one, you can view the meeting live on Spectrum Channel 22 or online at youtube.com/City of Gardena. Also, the second way is participate before the meeting by emailing the Records Management Coordinator at krhee@cityofgardena.org and write public comment in the subject line. Comments will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. The third way to participate during the meeting is via the Zoom webinar. You can join Zoom via the internet or via phone conference. You can direct your URL to https://us02web.zoom.us/J/8847541621. The phone number is 1-669-900-9128. The meeting ID number is 884-7541-6215. You can also go online to the City of Gardena, if I read that too fast, and get the information from our agenda there. If you wish to make a comment on a specific agenda item during the meeting, you may submit your comment into the question and answer feature, and it will be read into the record up to the time limit of 3 minutes. If you wish to speak live on a specific agenda item during the meeting, you may use the raise your hand function. During that time, let's see, members of the public wishing to address the City Council will be given 3 minutes to speak. Okay, with that being said, the City of Gardena thanks you in advance for helping us as we're taking all the precautions to prevent the spread of COVID-19. So, as it relates to closed session, Madam City Attorney, do you have anything to report on closed session?
No, Madam Mayor, there was no reportable action taken tonight.
Thank you. We're going to begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mayor Pro Tem, will you lead us in that?
Yes, please put your right hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our invocation tonight, Mayor Pro Tem, would you lead us in that, being that you're a pastor? It's a benefit of having a council member who is a pastor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Let's pray. Father, we just thank you for your kindness, your mercy, your love. We thank you that during these times right now that you keep us all patient and that you keep us calm, and that everything that we know that's happening, you have control over. And all we have to do is love our brothers and our sisters as we love you. And so, Father, as we do business tonight, let us continue to serve our city, our citizens, and make sure that the decisions that we make are wise ones for all. So, Father, we just thank you for this time. In your son's name, amen.
Thank you to both of you guys for starting us off with the pledge and the invocation. So next we move on to presentations. First up is under appointments. Does any member of the council have any appointments to be made to any commissions, committees, councils, or board at this time?
I do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the consent calendar. Madam City Clerk, do we have anybody from the public who wishes to speak on any item under the consent calendar?
No, we do not, Madam Mayor. And Madam Mayor, may I just say, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought.
Yeah.
I'm noticing the same thing as well.
I can hear you better now.
Oh, maybe because I moved in a little closer.
Okay.
Okay, maybe that's what it is. And if the IT guys are watching this, if one of them can come step back in here for a moment and maybe help this so I don't have to get so close to the screen, I'd appreciate that. Where did I leave off here? Consent calendar. Let's see, notes. Does any member of the council have any items that they'd like to discuss separately? No? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved.
Okay, Madam City Clerk, a motion was made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next we move on to Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. First item up is item number 781. Does any member of the council have any questions or concerns? Okay, if not, item number 782. That item there is actually just to receive and file, but unless anybody has a question. No? Okay, we'll go ahead and file that. Okay, next we're going to move on to communication. I'm going to turn this over to our city clerk at this time. I just want to remind all of our speakers that they are to limit their remarks to 3 minutes. And because we're doing this a little differently tonight via Zoom, via emails, Madam City Clerk, I'm going to let you take over at this time.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have 3 oral communications, and I will read them. They will be timed at 3 minutes.
Okay.
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 So I will begin. The first communication is from Wanda Love, and she says, "It was brought to my attention the City of Gardena has decided to cancel the MOU between the City of Gardena and the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce. I have also reviewed the Zoom council meeting dated May 26, 2020, and have received a letter from the city manager, Mr. Clint Osorio, confirming this fact. It was very interesting to listen to the mayor and council members, Mark Henderson and Rodney Tanaka, speak so many lies about me as a representative of the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce. What you all fail to realize is the fact that there is a huge difference between Wanda Love, the CEO of the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce, Wanda Love, the business owner, and Wanda Love, the resident. The problem I have with what was stated about the Gardena Chamber is it's all a fabricated lie. Truth is, the 3 of you have issues with Wanda Love, the resident/business owner. I have never spoken negatively about the city of Gardena representing the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce. I do have major issues with the city on a personal level. In the midst of a worldwide pandemic, the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce stepped up and began providing local businesses and the community with reliable quality, hard to find proper protection equipment to purchase in bulk. Your code enforcement officer, Mr. Gabriel Jimenez, saw a small 2-by-4-foot table set up outside the chamber office, stopped and told me we were in violation and the city does not allow for outside sale of any kind. I was told to contact Mr. Spencer de la Cruz for assistance with the matter. This was confusing to me, considering code enforcement is under the authority of community development, Mr. Raymond Barragan, and not economic development. However, Mr. de la Cruz, being the best thing to happen to ED since Yvonne Mallory, sent me an email suggesting the following. Hi, Wanda. I spoke to our planning and code enforcement team about your questions in regard to selling PPE in front of the Gardena Chamber of Commerce. Unfortunately, outside sales and vending, while encroaching in a public right-of-way for any purpose, is not allowed. However, we thought of a few things the chamber could do to continue. 1, offer delivery service. You could deliver orders to the essential businesses. 2, offer drive-up pickup service. Someone could order online or by phone and pick up from the chamber. Our largest concern is any table or setup that is encroaching on the sidewalk or public right-of-way, As you can imagine, many of our non-essential businesses are in a position where if they could be allowed to set up and sell from the sidewalk, they would. We've got to continue following and enforcing the county health order. The county should be coming down with new rules which should provide businesses some more flexibility to open up. We will keep you abreast to these updates and any changes as they become available. As always, please feel free to call me with any questions. Beth Spencer. Please note, the Gardena Chamber of Commerce. We have run out of time, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, I muted when they were fixing this here.
Okay.
Okay, we're at 3
We
minutes.
have run out of time
Okay,
on this, so I will continue to the next one.
okay.
And this will be entered into the to the record, the full letter.
Okay.
Okay, the second communication is from Anna Yaguchi, and it is concerns over a growing national trend to defund local police departments. To the distinguished members of the Gardena Valley or Gardena City Council, it is rare for us to address the public in this manner. Is the timer on? Excuse me.
No.
Okay. It is rare for us to address the public in this manner, but this is a topic we feel very strongly about. Across the nation, there have been many cries to defund the police. On behalf of my husband, a Hispanic American Gardena resident of 14 years and an active community volunteer, and myself, an Asian American Gardena resident for 34 years, also a community volunteer, we urge you not to blindly follow suit. Gardena has a history of following the trends set by the City of LA, but defunding our police is one trend we do not believe is in the best interest of the place we call home. The Gardena Police Department is imperfect, as all human beings are imperfect. Sometimes human beings respond to stress in an unacceptable manner. However, over recent years, we've seen a police force who's made great strides in community outreach and inclusivity as compared to other cities. We see a police force whose skin more closely reflect those of our friends, neighbors, and ourselves. We see a police force we are not afraid to walk up to and have a conversation with. We see a police force we are willing to trust with our lives and the lives of those we love. I was here for the 1992 riots, and when looters tried to attack a Korean-owned liquor store on the corner of Rosecrans Avenue and Western Avenue, his African-American and Hispanic neighbors came to his aid and chased off the looters, saying, "You can't come and do that. This is our neighborhood." Please think carefully before giving into the temptation of following a popular slogan. Remember, Gardena is not LA City. We are not Minneapolis. Gardena is an all-inclusive, all-American community, a fact easily demonstrated by looking upon the faces of our own distinguished council. From what I've seen, the Gardena Police Department has been and continues to be working hard to try to mirror that. And that concludes that communication.
Okay.
I have one more. It is very short. It is from Dwayne Cofield. And he says, I was wondering why the mayor and the police department had no comment on the murder of George Floyd, but rather chose to promote enforcement and curfew. And that is the end of this communication, Madam Mayor. And I do not have any other oral communications
Okay.
for you this evening.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so next we're going to move on to item number 8C1. Mr. City Manager, hopefully everybody can you hear me okay? I'm sorry, we just adjusted that.
Madam Mayor, this is Catherine.
Yes?
Yes, we do have an additional speaker who raised their hand.
Okay, we'll allow it. Madam City Clerk, we'll go back to the 3-minute timer.
Okay.
Okay, so the speaker is Felicia Benjamin.
Okay.
You will be prompted to unmute yourself. Please accept, introduce yourself, and then begin speaking.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, City of Gardena. My name is Felicia Benjamin, and I would like to express a concern. As I listened to the last City Council meeting, I was angered at how you, Mayor Serta, slandered the name and reputation of Dr. Rachel Johnson. According to the standards of behavior that promote civility at all public meetings printed in your agenda, It states, treat everyone courteously, and also to focus on the issues and avoid personalizing debate. You, Mayor Serta, did not adhere to your own rules when you made rude and disrespectful comments about Dr. Johnson. Shame on you and the three councilmen that sat in silence. Being silent is being complicit. I do not ever recall a city council not approving a commission appointee for personal reasons that are slanderous. Dr. Johnson is overly qualified to sit on any commission and continue to serve her community in which she's dedicated over 20 years to. My neighbors and my friends were outraged at your attempt to assassinate Dr. Johnson's character publicly and on record. As the leader of our city, you, Mayor Serta, should be able to follow the public meeting standards and should always put the city's best interests first instead of your own personal vendettas. This is not how you should conduct yourself as the leader of our fine city. These are similar tactics used by the leader of our country, personal attacks. I speak tonight on behalf of myself, my friends, and my neighbors as I close with, we want Dr. Rachel Johnson on the Planning Commission. Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, we have another speaker by the name of Rudy. I don't have a last name.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening.
Excuse me, Rudy, can you please state your last name as well? Thank you.
Martinez.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, so I just want to reiterate and echo some of the comments that were made right now, too. We as Gardena, tend to follow the Los Angeles County too much. I've got to agree with that, because as soon as the COVID thing first came out, you guys were saying, yes, let's go ahead and put a mask on as soon as you walk out of your house, and as soon as you're driving, then you have to fall back on that. So I just want to reiterate that we jumped to conclusions way too much without not a lengthy, educated discussion. And so I just want to urge that we look at that and we don't just follow what LA County's doing. And I do want to reiterate the same thing too with the curfew. Didn't hear anything. And why is all of our information coming from the police department as opposed to the city council? This is very, very frustrating. I'm trying to figure out in the city, is it the police department or the city council and the mayor? And so I'm trying to be supportive, but it just seems like it's very frustrating. We're not really looking at this holistically in some cases, and we keep following everything else without educated understanding before we make these decisions. That's going to affect us taxpayers. Like, so a lot of us are following taxes right now. We're paying a lot of money to the city, and we're hoping that it would be utilized in a appropriate, educational, common sense way. And it seems like it doesn't. And little by little, I think parts of the city are starting to really see this. As you can see, more and more comments are doing it, and I'm trying to do my best as I can to really get my neighbors involved too, instead of waiting for them to explode and then come to these meetings and not articulate what they really want to articulate in a professional way. So that's all I really wanted to say. Just can we just make sure we do the educational stuff and then take a leadership role as a city council and the mayor with the grain. We don't think we have the problems we need to do that curfew. I mean, just let's think about it. Let's get on board. Let's work on this together. So I yield my time. Thank you.
Any more speakers?
As far as I know, we do not. I would like to ask Ms. Ree, are there any additional speakers?
We did not have any more.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We don't have any more,
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, let's move on to departmental items. Let's move on to item number 8C1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, Agenda Item 8C1 is Resolution Number 6457, adopting resolution ratifying the proclamation declaring existence of a local emergency. On May 25th, 2020, George Floyd died while in custody of Minneapolis police officers. The tragic circumstances surrounding his death has led to protests in Minneapolis and quickly spread throughout the U.S. In many locations, peaceful protesters expressing their grievances are being overshadowed by criminal and violent individuals. These nefarious individuals not only detract from the lawful and protected protests of the community, They are also adversely impacting local economies and sowing fear among the community as these individuals carry out violence. Here in Gardena, several of our local businesses have been victims of vandalism and or burglaries. Accordingly, on June 3rd, 2020, the city manager, as the city's director of emergency services, issued a proclamation declaring a local emergency as of May 31st, 2020, as authorized by the Gardena Municipal Code, Chapter 2.56.060. This proclamation enables the city to move more effectively, respond to any situations, seek and utilize mutual aid, and potentially obtain reimbursement for expenses incurred to address the civil unrest. Again, I want to reiterate that the primary reason why we've declared a state of emergency is to be able to recoup and get reimbursed for all of the expenses that we have incurred during the unrest, should there be any potential or any future funding available for cities. The primary costs incurred by the city are for public safety and other staff overtime as required to address coordination, communication, staff safety, and management of the local emergency, as well as related services and supplies, including any requested mutual aid. Current city costs are being covered by existing department appropriations, but will be tracked separately in the city's disaster fund. Staff will pursue federal and state reimbursement for all city costs incurred. What's required is to adopt resolution number 6457.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments on this here?
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Henderson, one quick question, Mr. City Manager. What do we think at the end of this, how long will it take for us to be reimbursed or from the feds, or will that just, as they have money, they'll dole it out, and if they run out, we won't get reimbursed? Well, what's your anticipation on that?
So for this particular issue, this is obviously separate from the coronavirus pandemic issue. For this particular one, we don't have any idea as to if there's any funding available at the moment. What we're doing is proactively saying that we've had a state of local emergency, we've responded, and we've incurred costs. In the event that there is money available later on, we would be able to qualify to apply and get reimbursed. So, but at this point, we don't have any knowledge of any funding that's available for this.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I have a question. Mr. City Manager, how much, do you have an estimate so far where we're at as far as costs that have been incurred?
I don't have it with me. Chief Safel, do you have that information? I believe your team is tracking that.
Okay. We'll give him a minute or so to chime in.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I can put it together for you. I mean, this is the bulk would be the overtime.
Okay.
I would imagine it would be in the probably 100 or 200,000.
100 to 200,000.
Approximately.
Wow.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I've been unmuted.
There you go.
Yeah,
Welcome, Chief.
It's about $165,000 at this point.
Okay.
And the reason for that was that we, like every other agency around us, went on a 12 on, 12 off schedule for about 10 days. And that required some overtime to be able to do that in combination with regular shifts.
Chief, while I have you here, can you just talk a little bit about maybe some of the types of incidents we had? Because I think a lot of people didn't realize anything even happened in Gardena.
So we had various individuals around the South Bay cities kind of making their way from one to the next. In City of Gardena in particular, we had several burglaries. There were a few businesses on Rosecrans on the 2500 block that received broken windows, and then another business that had gotten broken into. We've had pharmacies on multiple burglaries. In fact, one pharmacy was victimized 3 nights in a row, all different ways. Gardena Honda, we experienced several individuals, I think it were 9, that were trying to break into cars as well as to that showroom area. And then at a separate pharmacy, we had 12 individuals that tried to get in. That was on Vermont, the 140-100 block of Vermont. And we made several arrests out of that incident.
Okay. Okay. I think that pretty much answers my questions. Are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
this is City Clerk Semenza. Mr. Rudy has his hand up and wants to speak, but I'm not sure if it's to this subject or if you wish to do this at the end of the agenda.
Okay. Are you able to text him back or email back?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Ree because I'm not in direct communication with him. Ms. Ree?
Yes, Mayor Serta, this is regarding this item.
Okay. We'll let him go ahead and speak. Let's put the timer on 3 minutes.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. Hey, this is great news. That's cool. Is there some way we can get some type of report on what took place in the city of Gardena and like some of these, you're catching people in the arrest or what's going on in the city? I think this is great. This is fine. If it's going to cost the city, $100,000, that's great. But it'd be nice to just be like, hey guys, we did this, or hey, this is happening over at Honda, and we could be more advocate for you guys because then that's more eyes and ears out there for you. So I would love if they could put some type of report together and just show us, because all we, like that one previous comment said, is we usually just get the tweet saying, hey, curfew, we're following this, or hey, there's a new update for COVID, So it would be nice to get some more positive reinforcement and maybe bridge that gap back with community once again. And just to see too, are we providing mutual aid to other cities and we're not having any issues, or are we just doing 12-hour shifts just because, or do we feel there's active threats? It'd be nice just to have that transparency with the citizens of the city. Once again, we do put the bill a lot of times, so it'd be nice just to kind of see how can we help, how can we be part of the solution and not the problem. So I would love that if that's what that we could do it, and maybe be a proactive approach to utilize the Twitter system or some other type of social media system to get out to the communities right away. There's that neighborhood app that people love to use too. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of that. It'd be nice as a taxpayer to really get some of that feedback. Thank you.
Okay. Well, before I let Chief Zafel answer the questions regarding the 12-hour shifts and mutual aid, most of the time, a lot of this information is in the Gardena Valley News. They have a little crime reporter thing that talks about all of that, different things that have happened, as well as on social media. There's a lot under the Gardena Police Department where they put that information out there. I know COVID is going on right now, so you're probably not aware, but usually at all of our neighborhood watch meetings, we know a lot of this information that happens on a regular basis, just because we're at a lot, not just me as an elected official, but this is open to the community, those district meetings, which would probably be a good idea, Mr. Rudy, maybe to attend. I'm going to let Chief Zafel talk about the 12-on-12 shifts. Was it necessary, as well as mutual aid? Chief?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, yes. So we absolutely did, we did assist other cities. The 12 on, 12 off was necessary, and it was consistent with all of the, again, the South Bay cities that were around us. We assisted Culver City, we assisted Santa Monica, we assisted Long Beach, and there were multiple shifts. We are part of an Area G, which is a mutual aid conglomerate of cities that are around us. We make a commitment to those cities to come together when there's resources needed, and so that was part of the 12 on, 12 off, and the necessary bodies that were there. I don't know where Mr. Rudy lives, but again, just echoing the mayor, a lot of this information we do give out at our community, our district policing meetings. And if Mr. Rudy would like to call my office, I'd love to talk to him and tell him about our program and get him in connection with one of our district lieutenants.
Okay. thank you.
Madam
Any more? Oh, go ahead.
I have a question regarding some of the burglaries. Now, these burglaries are we able to determine whether or not these burglaries were perhaps people taking advantage of an opportunity to commit these burglaries, or were they tied to the protests, Black Lives Matters, or just folks just happened to, because as we found out, a lot of the looting and the burglaries are going on in other cities weren't necessarily the Black Lives Matter protesters, that they were as a result of people taking advantage of an opportunity to commit a crime. So are you able to determine that?
Yeah, so it's my opinion that they were two separate things. These were not protesters. These were people taking advantage of a situation from the time that was happening. These happened later at night. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor. Yes, we have two more speakers that would like to speak to this item 8C1. Miss Wanda Love is first, and then Alexis Moore. So,
okay,
Miss Love,
go ahead with the timer.
Miss Ree.
Chief Chaffel.
Yeah.
Hello. I just wanted to know.
We'll determine who answers. Go ahead.
Chief Chaffel, I just wanted to know if GPD was still doing 12 on, 12 off at this time, since things have died down and protests have become more peaceful, or are you guys, still implementing that process?
No, ma'am. We stopped Saturday night.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next speaker.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Alexis Moore, and my comment is just more to the leadership of our mayor during this time. I just feel like, as the previous speaker said in oral communications, that the city still has not put out a statement in regards to Mr. George Floyd or what has been going on in today's time. And I just feel like our mayor is not being much of a leader. She's under the thumb of the police association, and I think she moves when the police tell her to move instead of the other way around. You guys were so busy the last meeting disrespecting Councilwoman Johnson Emeritus about her not being a councilwoman, that we lost sight of some of the leadership things that you should have been doing. There have been other cities that I've seen, like Carson, Torrance, where the mayor has been putting out statements or getting on Facebook. This is 2020. There's so many ways for you to reach your constituents in the community without having a open meeting or, just picking up the paper and seeing what's going on. That's not good enough. I just think you should be trying just a little bit harder, but you're so focused on your personal attacks and your vendetta against what's going on with the planning commission that you're losing focus because you're under the thumb of the Gardena Police Association. And I just wish that you would lead instead of being a follower. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Do we have any other speakers?
We do not.
Okay. So with that being said, can I go?
We actually do have something to read into record.
Okay.
The anonymous person.
Go ahead. And well, hold on. We need it. Madam City Attorney, do we take anonymous or do we need a name?
We could take anonymous, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Go ahead and read the anonymous.
Okay. In comparison to burglaries, was it a normal number of burglaries at last year or just during this trying times?
Okay. Chief, would you mind answering that? If you know that information.
Is it a normal amount? I guess I need more clarification on what you're trying to, what the question is.
I don't know the person. I don't know. I don't even know how we follow back up with them. They were anonymous.
I would say that the there are nights where we have more burglaries. There are nights when we have no burglaries. So that's a very difficult question to answer.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So we might have to just leave it at that. Okay. With that being said, are there any more questions or comments at this time?
Yes,
If
Mayor.
not,
There's
Yes.
another speaker.
on this item? Okay. Go ahead.
Good evening. It's Felicia Benjamin again. I was just wondering, I hear Chief Phil, responding to the public's comments, but, when I spoke myself and a few others, we haven't really had any response back to, what was said. So I was wondering if you were going to address our comments and concerns, or was that going to go unnoticed?
No, we heard your concerns that you stated. We're speaking more specifically to this item here. Now, those statements you made in reference to me, if I choose to, during my closing remarks, I can respond to that. So, if you had a question related to this particular item here, we will address that. But as far as just perception and things of, if I choose to during my closing remarks, I'll do it at that time. But if you have any questions specific to what's going on with resolution number 6457, this is what we'd like to discuss. So do you have any questions as it relates to that, as it relates to moving forward with that? Any questions with that?
No, I do not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Madam Mayor, excuse me. Seems that we have a Felicia Benjamin who would like to speak.
Okay, go ahead.
Mayor Serta, she just spoke.
Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Fine. So are there any more questions or comments as it relates to resolution? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6457?
Member Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Yes.
Excuse me. Councilmember Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8D1, Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council. Agenda item 8D1 is a public hearing for resolution number 6450, confirming the diagram and assessment contained in the engineer's report dated May 12, 2020 for the Gardena Artesia Boulevard Landscaping Assessment District and ordering the levy of assessments on the same for fiscal year 2020-2021. On March 10, 2020, Council adopted resolution number 6435, directing the city manager to order the engineering staff to prepare and file a report according to the provisions of the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 of the State of California Streets and Highways Code, Division 15, Part 2, for assessments to be levied upon and collected through the said assessment district. On May 12, 2020, Council adopted the resolution number 6444, approving the engineer's report filed in the Office of the City Clerk and declaring its intention to levy upon and collect assessments from the said assessment district for fiscal year 2020-2021. The adoption of this resolution confirms the diagram and assessment contained in the engineer's report and constitutes the levy of the assessment that will pay for the service and maintenance costs of landscaping and appurtenant improvements within the median islands of Artesia Boulevard between Western Avenue and Normandy Avenue. The funding source is the assessment district. Anticipated revenue is $21,662. What's required is conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution number 6450.
Okay, thank you. So this is a public hearing. Madam City Clerk, do we have any speakers on this item?
No, we do not.
Okay. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this item? No?
Actually, Madam Mayor, I do this Mayor Pro Tem.
Go ahead.
Mr. City Manager, in regards to the, thank you for letting me speak. In regards to, the revenues that we anticipate, is that a drop in revenues because of the taxes that aren't being collected, or is that just average amount?
That is an amount of assessment on property taxes.
Okay, so we're getting that from the county? We're
Correct.
asking that from county, okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6450?
So
Okay, I'll make the motion. Oh, okay. I'll make the motion. Second was Councilmember Tanaka. Madam City Clerk? I'm sorry, would you like me to repeat that?
I've got it. Thank
Okay.
you. Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes,
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is item number 8D2. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, sir, members of the City Council, agenda item 8D2 is a public hearing for resolution number 6451, confirming the diagram and assessment contained in the engineer's report dated May 12, 2020 for the Gardena Consolidated Street Lighting Assessment District and ordering the levy of assessments on the same for fiscal year 2020-2021. On March 10, 2020, Council adopted resolution number 6436, directing the city manager to order the engineering staff to prepare and file a report according to the provisions of the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972 of the State of California Streets and Highways Code, Division 15, Part 2, for assessments to be levied upon and collected through the said assessment district. On May 12, 2020, Council adopted resolution number 6448, approving the engineer's report, filed in the office of the city clerk and declaring its intention to levy upon and collect assessments from the said assessment district for this fiscal year 2020-2021. The adoption of this resolution confirms the engineer's report and constitutes the levy of the assessment that will pay for all energy, construction, and maintenance costs of street lighting, including safety lights that are above traffic signals. These fees are assessed and collected through the LA County Office of the Assessor and the LA County Treasurer and Tax Collector and are remitted to the city on a biannual basis. Financial impact, the budget amount is $771,124.83, and the funding source is the assessment district. What's required is to conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution number 6451.
Okay, thank you. So this is a public hearing. It's now open. Madam City Clerk, do we have any speakers on this item?
Yes, Madam Mayor, we have a speaker by the name of Rudy.
Okay, let's go ahead and let him speak. Timer, please.
Okay.
Great. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hey, so just real quick question. When we do projects like this, are we pulling our resources away from the building and permits department for everything else? Recently, I put in a building permit to do some remodel and extension to the house. It took well over 8 weeks. And then when talking to various people in the city, they said, "Oh, we got pulled off for doing this project," or "Oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that." So that was just my one question. When we do items like this, are we pulling from our resources so it's hurting our citizens and our taxpayers from getting stuff that they want to get done through the city, or is there some type of incompetence that's going on out there and it's really not been brought to your guys' attention? Because sometimes I've said on a few of these meetings, and a lot of times that seems to be the repeated verbiage I hear from mostly you, Mayor Serta. Thank you for responding, because I don't know if Member Kaskigian can hear me or not. Some of his questions are not there, but Mayor Pro Tem Henderson and Francis, you guys asked some awesome questions. I'm really, really thankful and stuff like that. So you guys are doing a really good job. Keep it going. But I really feel that there's some just let down with the city and how we're running our efficiencies on certain things. So I'm wondering, is it because we're doing big projects like this, so it's taken away? So that's my question: is are we really looking into what's going on with the city when we're doing these big projects and stuff like that too? Because it could be very inconvenient for some of the taxpayers that are putting the money towards the city. So I don't know if that's being done, or do you guys just wait for something to bring stuff up to your guys' attention? So that's it. So that's all I'm saying. So this is a public hearing, so I just want to say that that's my thought process. Is that I think this project is good overall. At the end of the day, it's awesome. So good job, city manager. You did a really good job with articulating that one. So thank you for that. But there has to be the other side of it too. Waiting 8 weeks to find out, oh, hey, you have to go back and redo your plans again, and now my construction guy's saying, hey, I'm going to charge you more because it's delayed, is just a little frustrating. And once again, Mayor Pro Tem, you always ask the good questions. Francis, you're doing a really good job. And Mayor Serta, you're always good about responding, so I appreciate the rest of the crew, guys. We could step it up. Really want you guys to step it up. That's just my humble opinion. So thank you. I yield my time.
So, Mr. Rudy, just so you know, what you're experiencing with your permit, it's completely separate from this here. What you're dealing with deals with community development, completely separate item here. What we're talking about as it relates to the Landscape and Assessment District and the Consolidated Street Lighting Assessment District is something that happens every single year. And I'm going to let our city manager explain in a little bit more detail as far as what the process of this here is. And it only relates to a certain particular area here. It doesn't pull from other things there. But just so you know, so that you'll understand it a little bit better, I know because we do this particular one every single year, and I've been involved with the city of Gardena for over 20 years. And every year it's always the same time, the same thing. And I guess I know it in the back of my head, and so do the other council members. So we hear it, and I don't mean to use the term, it's mundane, but we kind of know it inside and out. So maybe we go through it a little fast. But Mr. City Manager, because the question was asked, could you explain in a little bit more detail the last item, the Landscape and Assessment District and the Street Lighting Assessment District, what it means? Because also we do have a new council member as well. And so that our viewers who are watching this, as well as our news, so everybody understands it in its entirety, because again, we've been hearing this forever. So
thank you, Madam Mayor. And Mr. Rudy, thank you for your comments. Just to give you and the rest of the audience a little bit of a history, the Landscaping and Lighting Act 72 basically allows municipalities to levy parcel tax to on the parcels that are directly affected by the assessment district. In this particular case, this is a lighting district. So this district encompasses El Segundo, east to west, Crenshaw, north-south, Vermont, north-south, and then Artesia, along Artesia. So, for the most part, this is happens every year. It pays for upgrades, for instance, LED upgrades from halides, any repairs, maintenance of the lighting, and also the energy itself. It pays for the energy to light the streets and thoroughfares. And it does not take away from the permitting process that we have in the city, because there is no permit to be pulled. All we're doing is really levying the taxes on the property owners that are affected on those particular parcels, and collecting those from the county, and then recording it in our financial system, and then paying those to our vendors, our energy providers, et cetera, et cetera. I am a lot concerned if somebody is having to wait 8 weeks for a permit and having to redo their permits after having to wait 8 weeks. So I'd like to invite you to come and speak with me if you have a particular project in mind that you've had experience waiting 8 weeks. I mean, I can't imagine somebody waiting 8 weeks for a permit. And if that's the case, I'm here to make sure that those things are addressed. So I'd like to invite you to at least leave your name and phone number, so I can call you personally and find out which permit, and I would need a specific permit number, and so we can dig down deeper and see where the problem is. But 8 weeks is not acceptable. if that is the case. I know we've had some issues and shortages with building inspectors, but I don't think 8 weeks for a permit is acceptable.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments at this time?
Madam Mayor, we have another speaker.
Okay, go ahead, timer.
Yes, I wanted to kind of piggyback on the question that Rudy asked regarding the handling of community development and how long it takes. And I also wanted to find out if the layoffs for the employees in the city departments is going to affect resolution 6451, because CDC community development needs a lot of assistance. And city manager, I would love for you to have a community event and address the businesses that have had challenges with that department in the wait time to get permits and licensing and inspections done. I yield the rest of my time.
So basically, I think that's probably something that might be able to be brought up as a directive later on, that we can bring to the attention of the city manager as it relates to community development. But Mr. City Manager, if you'd like to answer the question, will it relate to the layoffs at all? And I think the other question, I forget what it was, the first one. Sorry, I forgot.
Madam Mayor,
3 questions in there.
to answer Ms. Love's question, whether or not the layoffs are going to be impacting community development, we can't answer that question because labor negotiations are currently underway and these are confidential items.
Okay.
So we can't answer those. I would love to find out more about instances where like I said, permits taking longer than usual. So that we've got to address that, right? I mean, if it needs more building inspectors, or let's find out where the time is being spent, et cetera. I'd like to find out more. So.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? No? Okay. If not, we're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. And can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6451? Anybody? Okay. There was a motion made by Councilmember Cascanian. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, Mayor Pro Tem, I'm sorry. Councilmember Cascanian made the motion. Mayor Pro Tem seconded. Will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian. I'm sorry. Yeah, excuse me. I meant Councilmember Paulette Francis.
Yes.
And Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8E1. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, sir, the members of the City Council, agenda item 8E1 is acceptance of the award and authorization to spend $77,884 from the U.S. Department of Justice Bureau of Justice Systems, or BJA, under the fiscal year 2020 Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. Utilizing these funds, it is the intent of the Police Department via the Emergency Operations Center to purchase personal medical protective supplies to safeguard the health of our police department and city personnel in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. These include antibacterial cleansers and soaps, masks, gloves, goggles, and other disposable protective suits. A portion of the funding will also be used to fund overtime for the task force team, consisting of 1 sergeant and 5 officers, to ensure that all businesses and customers are following the county guidelines throughout all phases of the pandemic. The police department has budgeted for all the planned expenditures to be covered by the grant award so that there will be no impact to the general fund. Again, I just want to reiterate that this particular grant is from the Department of Justice, Bureau of Justice Systems, and is meant for provide help towards police departments.
Okay.
The grant funding amount is $77,884. What's required is to accept the grant award and authorize expenditures.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so are there any questions or comments on this item here?
Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Go ahead.
Mr. City Manager, although we definitely are appreciative of this loan or a grant for 77K, it's some buying power, but not a lot. As we understand, the supply chains are starting to get impacted again now that the economy is opening up. Do we have a contingency plan after we spend the 77K of where we can get other PPE? That's
It would have to. Yeah, so if once we've spent the 77,000, we would have to go back to the general fund and front the money again, fund it first, and then hopefully we'll get reimbursement from FEMA. Unfortunately, after a couple of years.
Okay, thank you for that. Second question is in regards to going around ensuring that folks are following the county guidelines. What's going to be the methodology for that, as far as you going this type of businesses this day, this type of business that day, this area? Is it going to be random, or have we decided that yet?
I'd like to defer to the chief as far as enforcement is concerned.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So our special enforcement unit is that detail that has been described here, and what our plan is to supplement code enforcement to provide assistance to the businesses in the city. We have made a grid of the city, and as the county unlocks certain businesses as we go along, and that's all detailed in our City of Gardena COVID website. As those businesses are unlocked, that's as we make our way through the city to just give them guidance. Again, we kind of go back. It's more guidance. We want our businesses to be successful and doing it the right way than any enforcement. So we've stayed away from that word enforcement and just said guidance. So that's the plan.
Okay, thank you, because words matter, Chief. Thank you very much. Guidance versus enforcement.
Okay.
Madam
Go ahead.
Mayor, so the grant, the expenditures for the grant have to do with PPE, personal protection equipment, and as well as guidance for reopening businesses to pay personnel to guidance for our businesses. Is that what I'm hearing?
So primarily it's for supplies, but it does fund for some overtime for our task force team for 1 sergeant and 5 officers.
And my other question is, I thought, let's see, I know it's under the CARES Act, and the CARES Act provided $850 million. Was this a one-time? I thought once you apply for a grant, you can also apply again.
So this particular grant is completely separate from the CARES Act that we all know that has been distributed to some select cities that have populations over 500,000. And then for cities that are under 500,000, those cities would have to go through their state and county for any disbursement. At this point, we don't have a dollar amount as to what we are scheduled to be getting. As you know, the state has stated that they are in a $54.5 billion deficit. So I'm not sure how much of that will be available after that for any of us smaller cities.
So this grant didn't come from the Emergency Supplemental Funding Program. This is a totally separate.
This is a totally separate one from the Department of Justice.
Yeah, this is DOJ too. All right.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, if not,
Mayor, excuse me.
oh,
This is City Clerk Semenza. We have 2 speakers.
oh, okay, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Good evening. I wanted to know on behalf of the Gardena Valley Chamber of Commerce, out of the $77,884, how much of that money will be spent locally in our economy with businesses that have stepped up to either acquire or produce PPE supplies? And if there is no intention to invest that money back into the economy, I would challenge the city to seriously consider doing that. So can somebody, statement? If somebody can answer, it was a question. How much of the money has been considered to be reinvested back into the economy of our community with our local businesses that have stepped up to either acquire or produce PPE supplies and equipment?
So let me turn this over to the chief, but I want to state here that this particular grant has to be specifically used for the items that was stated. So in the beginning, when the city manager read it, it went very much into detail where the money was going to be used for. And of course, it's going to be used here in the city. It doesn't say anything about giving anything to any businesses to supply this. But if the chief would like to add anything to that as far as how these different awards work, as far as if money is used for that's not specifically in a particular grant, or if the city manager wants to add anything to that, because these are very strict.
So Madam Mayor, I'd invite the chief to chime in too, but with regard to purchasing PPEs and other supplies, we go through a series of purchasing and procurement process. And we have specified vendors that we purchase specified masks, so we don't want to buy just regular masks. It has to be something that's what they call a N95 rated masks. There are other masks out there that are of lower quality, and I think the chief has had numerous experience trying to purchase those things during the beginning of the pandemic, only to find out that some of the masks that became available were actually KN95, which is the inferior version of the N95, which doesn't work as efficiently as the certified N95 masks. Chief, would you like to chime in on that as to how we go about purchasing these things?
Yeah, so usually we will go through the county and county suppliers that give us that equipment and they're certified. I do not believe there's any requirement in this grant that specifies exactly where you get those items from.
Okay. All right. Was there a second speaker?
Yes, there is.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening once again. So this is Rudy Martinez. So I just want to say I think this is great that we're getting that money in that grant. I think it's awesome. I believe the police deserve this protection. And the speaker before me made a great point. If we could buy that locally, that'd be awesome. My only grievance, frustration is the code enforcement. Very, very, very frustrating. Once again, where I've had the police call me and contact me 4 different occasions because of this. Hey, you're not wearing a mask. Hey, this park is closed. Whatever the case may be. And at the same time, got reports from other neighbors. Hey, this person over here got.
Locally?
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Rudy, go ahead.
Yeah, no, definitely. So code enforcement, I just say we should just go straight PPE, protect our people. If we want to get that sergeant and the other officers for a mutual aid reinforcement, I completely understand it. But going around to these businesses that already have enough tough time or enforcing some of these ridiculous, absurd rules in some opinions, just like we don't need face masks. Now we need face masks. Go now, don't close this. Then we open it, go back and forth. I think we could set the example and not follow what everybody else is doing and do it above. We have, what's our population now? Almost 60,000 folks here in Gardena, and our numbers are tremendously low. We have that ability to do it. I would say use that money to protect them, protect these police officers from doing that. I think that's great. That is great. But to have people doing around and go around to enforce some of these, or not enforce, what was the terminology, guidance? I think is absurd. There's other counties that are out there that are enforcing this stuff. They're not. They're saying, hey, it's out there, but we're choosing not to enforce it because you're part of the community. We want you to be successful, and we think that you are reasonable adults to follow all the rules that you feel is necessary. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I feel this is not the pursuit of happiness when you have a police officer going to come in here and give you a warning, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to have some repercussions when these people are just trying to get back to some type of normalcy. So I want to just say that we should throw that out there and say, yes, PPEs, yes, protect the police officers. They're awesome people. They're wonderful people too. But going around telling, hey, the folks, you got to do this, you got to do that, I think we should stop. I think that's a Gestapo type mentality, and we should stop that. Stop the stormtroopers. Let them just go out there, be protected, be part of the community, and not go in there and say, hey, you're not wearing your mask. Hey, you're not doing this. You got to shut you down or get in trouble. I think it's completely absurd. And this is a very passionate, we could be the difference. Gardena could lead the way and say, hey, Gardena's doing it pretty good. I think we could do it. And so my time is almost up, so I yield my 25 seconds. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your comments. And, trust me, I want all of our businesses to open up as soon as possible. But at the same time, when I get these daily reports of the number of people showing up positive for COVID, when I look at the number of deaths, like we just had an update today from COVID, I always have to sit here and remind the council, and I don't have to remind them, they already know this, as leaders in the community, public safety is always going to be first. Again, it hurts the city, the fact that these businesses are closed, and financially, it's putting the city of Gardena in a tough spot. So we want these businesses to open as soon as possible. But first and foremost, we as the leaders here, we have to make sure that the community is safe. And I again, as much as, I would love to just be one of these renegade cities and say, open, we have to be responsible, and we have to make sure that our citizens are safe. And, whether they're a senior, whether it's, our children, because we just don't know what's going on with COVID. I'm hearing things, even kids under 10 years old are more susceptible, or anybody with any kind of underlying, sickness or something like that. So again, as soon as we can, we will open it, but we definitely want to be safe. But back to this particular item here, accepting the award here, as was stated earlier, it's to get those necessary protective items that we need, as well as this task force, just to make sure that everybody's following their guidelines here. Any other council member have any comments or questions before we move forward?
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, we have another speaker.
Go ahead.
Hello, this is Annie Yaguchi speaking.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my comments. With regard to Ms. Wanda Love's question about whether these PPE supplies would be sourced locally, well, it is nice to think so. It is unlikely, in my opinion, that any local business who just now turned themselves around to supply protective equipment would be able to produce such that are rated by the National Institute of Occupational Health and Safety Health Standards, well, of N95, R95, P95, O95, P100, R100, N100, or R100. And as a local citizen, I want my police force to have the best available. With regard to Clint Osorio's statement of K95 being inferior, that's not quite accurate. K95 is the Asian standard, K for Korea, as a matter of fact, and they are doing much better with this pandemic than we are. I yield my time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are there any more questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to accept the grant award and authorize the expenditures?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Cascadian and Tanaka, correct? Was it in that order? I'm sorry, who raise your hand or something?
Francis second.
Francis did it.
Okay, looks like Councilmember Tanaka made the first, and Councilwoman Francis made the second there. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Francis.
Councilwoman, I think you're muted still.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian,
Yes.
and Mayor Serta.
Yeah. Okay, next we're going to move on to council items as it relates to, let's see, where are we at? Item number 9. This is council directives. Do we have
Yes,
any?
Madam Mayor, I have some directives.
Well, you're quick. I didn't even finish getting the right directive. Go ahead, council directives. First one.
I'm just going to distill them down because I had a lot of thoughts on this. But one of the things I would like to actually see if I can get a second on is for us to develop an advisory panel to work in collaboration with our police officers as well as our chief and city manager and council, whatever that advisory panel would look like. And second thing is, because again, we all like to be on the record, is for us to issue a collaborative statement to our African-American people of color community that we do not condone the actions of the officers in Minneapolis, Minnesota that led to the murder of George Floyd. So I'll just leave it at those 2 items and I won't go into the rest if I can get a second.
So, Councilmember Henderson, if you will be willing to accept an amendment to that, I'd like to know if first we could see if maybe we can have a little bit of a listening campaign to reach out to the community first and then let that develop into the advisory committee. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
Okay. I think maybe that way, before we just put a committee together, maybe we just kind of hear the concerns of what our residents are saying. And then it can help us maybe put that advisory committee together and kind of go from there. So I was thinking that if you're open to that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second
Okay, I already did. Beat you to
Oh,
it.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear the part. Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, and the statement. Don't forget the statement.
And the statement.
And the statement, I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
and the statement as well.
I have a quick question for Mark.
Yes, sir.
Would that be an advisory group separate from our cop cap?
Yeah, this will be kind of a different group. And like I said, we'll let the listening tour kind of help us develop that. It could probably include cop cap. We need to see, but I think in this climate, we may need to just get some different thoughts and everything. We all should probably go on this listening tour and everything so we can all learn from what the community's got to say.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
And Councilmember, interestingly enough, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think a lot of people in the community don't realize that we have that committee, the COPCAT, that hears a lot of, concerns, like this going on, and we've had it for some time now. And, but I think even kind of implementing this new advisory committee, just because of some of the more recent things that happened that would speak more directly to that. But I'm always proud to say that Gardena, we've always been way ahead of the trend a long time ago with our community policing, district policing, our COPCATs meeting, and to the point that Gardena was a model city that other cities should look at for district policing. I think the Justice Department was looking at Gardena as being that city that other cities should model after. So, and for many years, that was a lot of discussion about just because we were so much further along. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm going around here. Are there any other directives?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Okay, let's first start with Councilmember Cascanian, then to Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to see if one of the council members can second on this one too. How would it be if we can have our closed session in person somewhere in the city hall instead of doing over the phone? Because it would be better if we can discuss face-to-face any closed session meeting than doing it on the phone, because I feel like, we are up in the air and, everybody's talking. I can understand sometimes talk over the other, so I would like to see if we can do that in the closed sessions, in person. And in that case, if we go in person, I don't know how we're going to go back into the, the general meeting, the council meeting. But we have a lot of rooms that, maybe 5 or 6 of us can sit, 6, 8, 10 feet apart, and we can conduct the closed session meeting. So I think it will be much better, much safer, and much more comfortable to be face-to-face discussing more sensitive items than over the phone.
Councilmember, would you mind if we hold off on that directive? And the reason why I asked that is maybe let's, as the staff, look at when we think we'll be ready to get together again, because this may only be, we don't know how much longer, COVID's going to be, and maybe through our department heads to even see how feasible that would be, if we were to meet in closed session, but separate, if that's even feasible. But can you just hold off on that just a little bit, and let's just even see, because COVID may be over in another week, so I don't know. And we
don't know yet. We don't know yet, but again, we might be able, to meet at the Nakaoka Community Center. That's,
okay.
big enough room that we can conduct the closed session meetings.
So if somebody wants to second it, then okay.
I wasn't going to second it, but I think Art made a good point on his own. Is how do we do a closed session and then do a council meeting, unless we move the closed session to another day? So that would logistically have to be figured out, I think, before we did that.
Well, how about if you make the motion and you second it and let the staff figure it out, and what would be feasible?
Okay, well, I'll second it on just the fact that we need to at least look at logistically how we do that. I don't even know if we could do it legally.
I don't know. Again,
I'm comfortable calling in.
We'll let the staff and the city attorney and everybody look at that, and we'll get a report back to you, Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you.
Okay. Hopefully COVID will be over by then. Okay. Any other directives? Oh, I'm sorry. Tanaka had one.
Yeah, I have a quick one. I'm getting calls more now than last few weeks, but if the chief could maybe look into the excessive fireworks that have been going off. I think a lot of it's like towards Councilman Anderson's house and my house. But these aren't just fireworks. These things are huge.
Yeah.
So I've been getting a lot of calls about it, a lot of texts. So if we can maybe look into that.
Okay. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second, because it's right by me and it just went off during the meeting and it kind of.
That's what I thought.
Look at my inside, so yeah.
Okay. Are there any other directives?
Yes.
Go
I
ahead.
have two. So let me be clear.
Okay.
So the directive, it needs a second by another council member. Is that correct?
Yes. So do one at a time, and then we can go separate that way.
Okay. We'll take them one at a time. Well, the first one is from my first council meeting. I've been asking about looking into increase the number of voter centers in North Gardena. And just because the last election, we had one voting center there at Raleigh Park, and a line stretched all the way around the corner. And so we have a presidential election coming up. We're about 150 days away from the election. I think it's going to be a big election. I think we're going to have a good voter turnout, high voter turnout. And so I just want to avoid, even though mail-in ballots are going to be, the Secretary of State has said that ballots will be mailed out, but voters are creature of habits. And for example, I want to take mine to the poll, my ballot to the poll, and put it in to make sure it goes in. I'm not quite sure if I want to depend on United States Postal Service to deliver it, although that's how it's done, just saying. So I just want to make sure we had one voter center, and that was at Raleigh Park. And there were 3 within a 5-minute walking distance over here at Nakaoka Center. And there was one at the fire station, then one right Nigger Avenue. All within, you could walk within 2 or 3 minutes. I just want to make sure, because what happens if you don't ensure accessibility, then you're almost ensuring voter suppression.
Councilwoman, I thought we had a second on that. It's just a matter of.
We did have, Madam Mayor,
report. You told me that you would give a report. You have
So what happened, Councilwoman? So what happened? Councilwoman, what happens is when there's a second, then the city manager will come back with a report. But I believe they were going to confer with the clerk's office, I think. Mayor Pro Tem, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say that's what was stated, that the city clerk was going to come back with something, because the challenge is going to be, or if they're still going to use the voting machines, to have another location, it's got to meet the requirement of the voting machines. If it's just going to be a space to drop ballots off, then that would be a different discussion. So Becky was supposed to come back with something on that.
Okay, Councilwoman Francis first and then Councilmember Tanaka. I'm sorry, because everybody's jumping.
That's all the more reason that we need to get going, because we do make sure, you know, they're Wi-Fi ready. Raleigh Park saying was, I've heard some conversation about using, Pershing Avenue. The school is probably, Wi-Fi ready. And then I'm not quite sure where else, but we need, at least more than just that one spot. And that's why we need to get on it as soon as possible, because we can't wait till you know, November's almost here. We're at June already. Got July, August, September, October. What's that? 4 months. So, and I'm sorry, you know, perhaps we heard two different things, but see, to me, report means you're going to tell me something, but I haven't heard any results, and I'm just getting a bit concerned that we need to start putting some things in place as soon as possible. That's all.
Councilmember Tanaka?
So I think Councilman Anderson was correct. It was seconded, but the city clerk's office was going to be attending a voter conference one day, I believe, and they were going to go and find out about the voting centers. And she actually said that we were talking about getting more voting centers, but that was after the meeting. So
Again,
she hasn't.
Well, perhaps it was after me. I didn't hear that. I just want to make sure. And I think that rather than, I think we need to take something to the meeting, you know, and really be clear about what our needs are. And I'm assuming that that's going to happen, but that's not what I heard. Now, maybe we attended two separate meetings, but I'm just saying. And if that is happening, then if I'm wrong, rescue me, and I'm glad to hear it. But that's not what I heard. And I keep bringing it back because I want to make sure that, you know, the ball's in play. That's all.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, did you want to add something?
I did. Yes. Our deputy city clerk, Becky Romero, she did talk about it, and I believe the date is in July. I will look into that, but it was addressed. And also, we did have a voting center at G-Trans as well.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's all I have for you.
Yeah, I know, but G-Trans, but like I said, I just want to make sure that she said, now, as to my recollection, she said she'd be attending a meeting in July.
Correct.
I just, you know, I keep pressing because I want to keep it in front of us. And I want to make sure that it does, because the last election, we had a town hall and we talked about it. And the concern was raised about having an additional number of voting centers in North Gardena, and we still ended up with one.
If I may, unfortunately, it wasn't our choice. It was the county, and there was criteria that had to be met. But we are definitely going to be looking into it.
And G-Trans was last minute addition. So, but that's still pretty good little ways. And so,
just for clarification, Councilwoman, just for clarification, so it was seconded. We did not forget. I mean, I'm not the one making the report, but it will be a response back to you, because, like you said, time is of the essence. So, and trust me, I do understand. I saw the line there as well, and staff will. But I mean, in fairness to staff, I think they need time to get all the information that.
No, I'm not. No. Let's be clear. Let's be clear. All I'm saying, I just want to keep it in front. That's all.
Okay.
And it was second. Thank you for rescuing me. Now I know, but however, we still need a plan. Regardless, we still got to have a plan.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. So,
okay.
Thank you, Rex. Now my second concern is, and Councilmember Henderson, I'm glad to hear you talk about putting together an advisory committee and having a listening tour. I, in fact, actually did a survey. And I polled 7,500 residents. And one of the questions, I'm still collecting the data, but one of the questions asked, are you willing to support legislation that requires an annual psychological background review of all police officers? And I got about a 74% response saying, yes, they were willing to support such legislation. You know, our police officers have the most, I can't think of any job that's more stressful than the job that they do. And having additional medical support, annual type medical support, to help identify, relieve, and strengthen the mental health. And maybe some of this might help prevent some of the police, the situations that are occurring countrywide across our nation. So if I'm glad to hear you mention that, and maybe we can get together and talk about the committee and how we can put together some concerns. I also received information from the League of Cities, and there's a Campaign Zero, and there are 8 initiatives that are coming before the Board of Supervisors the next meeting. But it's very interesting. I hear a lot. I talked with some of the neighbors, and there are some concerns that are going on out there. And I talked with officers as well. And while our police department, we do have community policing, but having coffee with a cop, as I've expressed to chief, and coming to community meetings and all that, that's all well and good, but there's a whole nother leg that goes up, another part that goes along with that. And it talks about developing a culture and how we approach policing and law enforcement in our city. And as I told the chief myself, I want to see everybody go home, and either go home, or if they've committed a crime, then that be it. But when a person life is ended or cut short, they don't get to have their day in court and either be vindicated or found innocent. And so I don't think we have that right. So those we'll get together and talk if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
All right, thank you for that.
Okay.
And
directives?
I don't know if that calls for a second or what, but
A psychological, is there a second for that?
support legislation. Just support legislation.
Support legislation for a psychological, is there a second?
Yeah, I get a second for that. We want to roll that into what we're doing. So yeah, let's look at see what that legislation looks like, because new legislation keeps coming out from the feds in the state. So yeah, let's see what that looks like. Let's discuss it.
And there are some concerns about that. We have a good police department with some brave men and women, and
Okay.
Madam Mayor, I just want to clarify on the directive on the psych eval. What report is expected from city staff?
Well, it just says, are you willing to support legislation? So I'm not quite sure. Perhaps after we have a listening tour and get the committee established, as Councilmember Henderson was saying, then we can sit down and have a conversation about how we move forward and what the next steps are. What I don't want to see is a committee, because there's an old saying that the best way to kill an idea is send it to committee. So I don't want to see that happen. And maybe we sit down and talk about that. But if
okay.
You want to
The directive would be to support legislation to have annual psychological exams.
Or if you want to do a report on it, or how we can put that.
We also want to look at this from a legal perspective, whether or not we can do it or not. I mean, it's never been done before, so.
Councilwoman Francis, is the directive for the city staff to look into the state and federal legislation, if there's any currently in place or being talked about with regards to annual psychological?
I think that'd be a good place to start. We should certainly start there.
Okay, so we could prepare a report. We can inquire as to whether at the state level and at the federal level, whether there's any potential bills or any type of potential bills that are being introduced to our state legislature or federal legislature pertaining to these annual psychological exams. Am I correct in that directive?
That sounds good, because I just want to make sure that we take care of our folks and that we do all we can to support them. It's a hard job.
So it's probably a good idea as well while we look at prior and concurrent and ongoing legislation on the matter, probably look at if there's any grants out there or any way to pay for this. Because I imagine an annual psych eval for all of officers the price tag would be astronomical. So we'd probably have to look at that as far as if there's any, we'll include that in the report, if there's any way to mitigate the costs.
Okay.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other directors at this time? Okay, if not, we're going to move on to the city manager remarks regarding our previous directives and council items. Are you ready,
Here's-
city manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the city council, last council meeting, we received a directive from Councilman Cascanian requesting a report whether or not developers are required to hire and source locally. We have a comprehensive report memo prepared for you, but to answer that question, there is no requirement or agreement per se requiring local hiring and local suppliers. We do encourage it. And as the report says, about 40% of all hours of all project work is encouraged to be performed by residents of the city of Gardena, as well as 20% of materials and supplies used for construction is encouraged to purchase from businesses based in the city of Gardena. So we have that report for you. The second one is a report prepared by our chief of police regarding arrest and detention and arrest and oversight explanation. It's a comprehensive report talking about that particular topic. And last memo is about the inquiry, community inquiry on some burglaries that have been happening in and around Perchi Elementary School. We have that memo report for you. Also, I want to take some time to quickly talk about some of the some problematic properties in and around the city of Gardena. Some of these have been entered through Gardena Direct by a resident. Some of them were mentioned, by some of you. So the first one is the 2800 West Rosecrans, otherwise known as Rigo's Ditch. There was debris and vegetation that was found in and around the property. They were not removed quickly, so on June 3rd, 2020, there was an admin cite or administrative citation issued to the property owner for the violations. 2501 West Rosecrans, which is Chase Bank. There's currently no active code case violation on the property and was inspected today and is in good order. 15301 Southwestern, this is the vacant auto use lot. Notice of violation was mailed to the property owner to trim overgrown vegetation from the parking lot by June 12, 2020. We do have an active code case on that. 12801 Southwestern corner of El Segundo, this is the vacant gas station. Graffiti was covered and overgrown vegetation was trimmed. Code enforcement communicated with the owner to improve the fencing and to prevent and repair the openings. Lastly, 12815 Southwestern. This is adjacent to the 12801 Western property. Property owner is in the process of removing the graffiti from the north and east side of the building. The owner is in the process of painting the walls. Due date for the compliance is June 15, 2020. Last on my report, and I promised Director Santina wouldn't forget, but we have a video tonight prepared by the Recreation and Human Services Department. And with the help of WRG, hosted the graduation station this past weekend. The event was visited by over 400 students from Gardena and surrounding cities. The event gave graduates of all ages an opportunity to celebrate their huge accomplishments and commemorate the occasion with 7 unique photo backdrops while complying with physical distancing regulations. A special thank you to Nikki Sweeney and Susie Santana for designing the backdrops. We have a video. Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, I wanted to thank the Recreation and Human Services Department for putting together this great effort. I know that, this year's graduates are really missing out on a lot of different things, but at least we can do our part and make sure that this is a time for them to be able to remember their accomplishments. So thank you to Director Santin and the rest of the Recreation and Human Services staff.
Okay, does that end your report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to council remarks. First up is Councilmember Tanaka.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. So since our last meeting, I attended South Bay COG board meeting and also the South Bay COG steering committee meeting. And the video, I attended that event. I stopped by just to see how it was going, and I'm really proud of our city that we put on such great events during this time of pandemic and everything else that's going on. So Stephanie and Waste Resources and all the staff of the city, thank you very much. It was a great event. And if you haven't bought your Gardena Strong face mask, it helps the pantry, so donate some money to the pantry. I just wanted to make a comment at the end here, Madam Mayor and Council. I want the city of Gardena and its citizens to know that we do not support what happened in Minneapolis. And, we stand for George Floyd and the atrocities that occurred. But I'm very proud of our city. I'm proud of our citizens, our police department, and those working in our city. Our police department has gone through huge changes from when I was there. The training, the community involvement, the way that we interact. We have such a diverse community that our police department is just as diverse. And I'm proud of everybody in our city that we had some peaceful protests. Mark, thanks for attending that one. I saw you. It's a great place because, we understand what it's about and we know how to go about it in the correct way. So just from my point of view, from my standpoint, what happened was a terrible thing. And I understand the Black Lives Movement, but I also believe that all lives matter. And I'm just proud to be a part of this city and the way that we handle ourselves. So that's the end of my report.
Okay, thank you. Next up is Mayor Pro Tem Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the Parks and Recs for doing that for the 2020 grads. They're missing out on quite a bit, the normal stuff that we've all kind of experienced through our life and everything. But thank you for stepping up. Through my anger and pain and everything, I want to say, I want to thank Chief Safel for letting me rant and rave about some issues and how I feel about Black Lives Mattering in my own life, Madam Mayor, your life, Councilwoman Francis, your life, and everything. So we want to make sure we address that. However, the wheels of government still turn. So I did attend my Centinela Youth Services meeting, and it was really robust discussion in regards to restorative justice for youth. I know we have our own restorative justice program here in Gardena, so we need to, as time goes by, as funding starts to return, we figure out how we can kind of rework some of that restorativeness into that. I also attended the Los Angeles Business Federation Responsible Governance Committee, and we pushed forward an initiative to make sure that there's some financial support for municipalities and cities that have less than 500,000. As we all know, the CARES Act and some of the refunds are going to communities and cities that have 500,000 or greater. We believe that there's more cities with less than 500,000. So we're all signing on that. That's going to also be going over to the league, contract cities, and I say we'll be meeting on that this week as well. So I'm still doing that work, representing us. Also, I had my SCAG meeting representing our Region 28, which covers Gardena, Hawthorne, and Inglewood. We had our General Assembly meeting. We introduced all the new board members. I got officially put on the legislative committee, so I'll be running some more stuff in regards to that. and just bringing everything back. As Councilman Tanaka said, we did have a nice, peaceful community dialogue on Dale's side. I want to thank Commissioner LaWanda Staton for setting that up. Channel 5 did come out. It was good. I believe we're going to do another one in a couple of weekends. Chiefs of Fails are going to participate. I believe you all should be available that day as well and everything. But I was happy to attend on behalf of the folks that couldn't make it and everything, to let our folks know that we're actually with our community. I participated in a few Black Lives Matters discussions online. I'm still a little concerned about COVID and social distancing, so there's a lot of large gatherings I'm still not going to, but I was able to go to a couple just to make sure that folks know we're out here and we're in support of this. And again, once our city puts out an official statement to that, that'll be great. Also, I want to thank the president of the GPOA, Matt. We actually had a discussion and couple discussions, and he kind of listened to me go into detail about some things and how I figure we should change some things and everything. So he's open to that discussion. So it's great that our community is what it is. We're all American and we're collaborative. So I'm just looking forward to great things coming out of this pandemic, as well as this racial inequality and the overuse of police brutality that leads to murder. Our community, we got to definitely be on the forefront, and I believe we'll lead. So, Madam Mayor, so ends my report, and thank you for letting me speak.
Okay. Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Francis.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I want to say thank you to staff for all that you do to keep our city running effectively and efficiently as best we can, given the COVID-19 circumstance. And I also want to give a special shout out to the Public Works Department. I received an email, which I will forward to our Public Works Department, from a constituent complimenting the Public Works Department for cleaning up the median down Rosecrans. And she said they've been doing a good job there, and that she stopped and said thank you and complimented them on the job well done. So I think what's happening with so many people being home now, they're cleaning out garages more and getting rid of stuff. So we may start seeing, but they seem to have been doing a pretty good job. And it's been a very difficult week for a lot of us to go through. And I just want to say that, yeah, it's true. All lives do matter, but all lives matter when Black lives matter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess I'm up next. Since the last council meeting, well, let me start off by saying this. First off, congratulations to all the graduates this year. As it was said earlier, this isn't a typical year dealing with COVID. So whether you graduated from kindergarten, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, master's, or what have you, congratulations to you first and foremost. This is going to be one of those unique things you'll always remember. In 2020, COVID was going on. But a special thank you to our Recreation and Human Services Department, Stephanie, Nikki, and all of you guys, along with WRG, for putting those great stations up there. I heard about it from people who didn't even live in Gardena, and that's what kind of shocked me, because they said, Gardena is doing this, and I go, doing what? And it just got out to everybody else. So it's always great to know that we're like always on the first and forefront with these really great things. We did not forget our seniors here. So thank you to the vendor, WRG, and to our staff for working collaboratively, you know what I'm trying to say, working together here and just making that a great event for our students. I think it's awesome that 400 people came out to take pictures and enjoy it. And thank you for the video. I just think that's just important that, we do as much as we can to keep the morale good within our community here. Because as was said earlier, this is still a difficult time. COVID is still going on. We still have to continue physical distancing and or wearing our masks. Since the last council meeting, I attended a flag ceremony for one of our firemen, Ernie Marquez. Now, we did recognize him at a previous council meeting, but the fire department had a really beautiful flag ceremony that was held at Station 159 on 135th, and I believe that is Wilton Place, where they're located. and they had fire trucks from several stations come out and stop by. And the ceremony was very short, but very sweet. His family came down from San Diego, and I was just really happy to be able to be there and be a part of that as they celebrated his life. LA County Fire Department does a whole lot of different things in some of our other departments, but it's great to see so many people out there, current firemen, retired, as they recognize his life. And Fire Station 159 was a station that he served at for a long time. Again, we were happy to, at least I was, from the city of Gardena, to be a part of that. The next thing I'd like to bring up is, Councilmember Tanaka talked about this earlier, the fireworks that are going off. I kind of feel like I'm the only person, and I know I'm not, that's calling the police every other night, but I want to encourage all of our residents out there. If you hear these fireworks going off, or if you see them shooting in the sky, anything that makes noise or shoots up into the sky is an illegal firework. Please call in. This has been going on for over a month or so. I'm at the point now that I'm driving around, and if I see the person, I'm staying right there and I'm calling in, because it's gotten so bad. I have our seniors calling me. People are emailing me. Unfortunately, the animals are going crazy and everybody's tranquilizing them. But it's just, I'm sorry, sedating them. Wrong word. Sedating, not tranquilizing. But it's just really tough on everybody. And it's not even the M80s. It's like an M100 that's going off. So I want to remind everybody, if you hear it or you see people doing this, please call the police department. Just yesterday, one of the fire stations, they actually saw some kids illegally shooting these off. One of the firemen, he stopped and he approached the mom, as well as I think the sheriff came by, and they told that parent, "Are you aware these are illegal?" And they said, "Your kids can get in trouble for having illegal fireworks." The mom acted like she didn't even know. And what was important was, she said she would make her kids stop, and I believe the fire department, they confiscated those fireworks. So there again, we want to make sure all of our neighbors know that it is illegal, and please call and, if this is going on, because it's unfortunate how it's affecting everybody's quality of life. One more thing I'd like to mention is, I know some of the comments were made earlier about, why we as a city, have not, made a statement as it relates to protests and so on. I understand everything that's going on, and as an African-American woman, I too am outraged by what happened. And in fact, at the close of today's meeting, I am going to add the name of George Floyd to our remembrances as well. But I think as a good leader and somebody who's been involved in this community for over 20 years, I'm not an emotional person, to the sense that I jump up because everybody else is speaking. There are a lot of things that we look at and we're concerned about, because Gardena is a little different and we're unique. And when the time is right, we will make a statement. I think that not only stands for myself, but I think it stands for all the council members. We have to look at this from a different stance as city leaders, and not just somebody in the community jumping up to speak. So this is something that many of us who are now elected officials, this isn't a situation that we look at lightly. And I think anybody who's watched the video knows what those officers did in that other state was terrible. And, we're all feeling sad at this moment. And like I said, as an African-American woman, I don't stand for that. And, but I also know my role as the mayor of this city. And we still have a lot going on in our community. We have COVID going on. We have businesses that are closed. We know that tensions are high, and we also have the protests. So these are all the things that not only I take into consideration, but as well as when I consult the staff here, as well as our city attorneys, as far as what is a good idea to make a statement, when is it good to make a statement, and or not. The other thing I'd like to mention as well is that in city government, you have a mayor and you have a city council. And up under that, you have a city manager, and then you have departments. That's public works, that's recreation, that's the police department, administrative staff. We're in charge of all of those things. And if we get along with any of those departments, it doesn't mean that anybody is controlling us. It just means that we have good working relationships, and that's it. So if people from the outside look at it in a different way, well, things are just working very well here, and we figured out how to work together cohesively, in harmony, and still get the job done. So, people may look at that whatever way they want to look at it, but I can honestly say that I'm proud of where our city is at and how well we work as a team, as a community, and how we respect each other within our elected officials here, within our department heads, as well as our staff. And with that, I believe that ends my report. Next up is Councilmember Cascanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since our last meeting, I was able to deliver about a little over 1,000 bottles of waters to JCI, Japanese Culture Institute here in Gardena. And I was in a communication with Stephanie Yamada, I think her last name is. A couple times I was able to talk to her, conference meeting over the phone. And the next couple weeks, by probably end of the month, we're going to have food delivery as well to JCI, and we did secure that one as well. So I've been working hard with these big corporations for them to donate water, foods, and any supplies to our community over here. And I would like to echo all my colleagues over here too regarding Mr. George Floyd wrongful death. Me as well, I'm outrageous. Whatever it's happened to Mr. Floyd is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I did attend myself a peaceful protest. I went to downtown LA myself, and there was another protest was organized, Armenians for Black Lives Matters in Glendale. And there were over 2,000 people attended this, and I was part of it too as well. So, everybody's life matter, Black Lives Matter. We all humans, we all one race, and outside color, skin color, it doesn't matter. We are one human, and we are under one nation. We have to get along together. We have to live. So, by saying all that, Madam Mayor, I will end my report, and my condolences to Floyd family.
Thank you. Okay, announcements. I don't have any in front of me. Mr. City Manager, do you have any announcements of any upcoming events?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Remembrances. Tonight, we're going to adjourn our meeting in remembrance of Mrs. Maddie Williams, a longtime resident of Gardena, who was involved in many organizations over the years. We're also going to adjourn in memory of Mrs. Rosa M. Ramos, who was 63 years of age, and the beloved mother of customer service clerk Jennifer Ramos. And lastly, we're going to adjourn in remembrance of Mr. George Floyd, who passed away, unfortunately, at a very young age. So at this time, we're going to move on to our adjournment. The City of Gardena will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled special City Council meeting, which will be at 6 p.m. on Thursday, June 18th, 2020. We are adjourned.